All right, it's now 6 o'clock. Now we'll now call to order this continued council meeting from Monday, June 19th, and I'll start with the budget and recognize the finance chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopt a town budget for fiscal year 2017-2018 in the amount of $16,298,324. This motion includes the following rate adjustments for the upcoming fiscal year. Base electric rate decrease of 3% from the fiscal year 16-17 in order to reimburse the consumer, our customers, for the increase in 2015 for the decreased generation capacity credits. Water and sewer rates would increase by 3% from 16-17 in order to fund the utility improvements proposed in the East End community. All other tax rates and services will remain the same as fiscal year 16-17.
Okay. That's your motion. Is there a second to Mr. Green's motion?
I second.
Mr. McCure seconds. Any discussion? This is a little bit changed from the advertising.
It is a decrease from the advertised, and
The decrease, we're not asking for the 2 pennies on the real estate tax, which equates to about a 9% increased burden on the taxpayer, and we're also reducing our electric rates by 3%.
The 3% that's being reduced, I know you outlined at the last council meeting, you had a plan for those. What category will not get the revenue?
reserve fund contribution.
So in other words, you're taking that what you were going to put to the electrical reserve back to the consumer?
Correct.
Motion's been seconded. Any further discussion? This is a first time in 11 budgets that I recall an electrical rate decrease,
So the 11% goes down, well, yeah, it goes down to 8, correct? So each year, will it be an additional, so we're going, I guess, we hate to use the word profit, but each year from now on out, it'll be an additional 8% profit that the town receives
No, it's
each
not
year,
a profit. It's more revenue.
Well, it's more revenue.
Revenue
That's
for
money.
Additional revenues that come in, but remember, next year, Dominion may be.
Yeah, but we're going to just go up typically. Don't we just pass through typically? Or are we going to have the
We have-
understanding?
We should.
That,
Yeah.
correct. So we will have an additional 8% from this point out. Additional revenue each year, correct?
Unless something changed from Dominion.
well, you can only look at it 1 year at a time. We know for 26, for 16, for 17, 18, yes, you're right. Right now, we're getting 11% decrease. Mr. Green is proposing to give 3% of that decrease back to the consumer. The remaining 8% will be divvied up between the fire.
Bucket truck that we're reimbursing
needed.
for and all.
Right.
We also voted 7-0 to adopt a financial plan that came out of the Finance Committee 3-0 to have $1.5 million in reserve just for electric. And we're at 337. So
I just look, I mean, and I'm not saying that, I mean, 3% is great, I'm happy with it. But I want people to understand that this is not, I mean, so for eternity until we go, I mean, because typically we say, all right, rates went up 2.5%. So we go, all right, it's a pass through, it's going to go up 2.5%. Well, obviously that 8% is still there. So from now on.
We got to zero base it from this point forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an extra revenue that the town will receive each year.
But I don't believe Dominion will be as courteous as they are this year.
Well, I know,
in the
but
future.
I mean, but it's not. We're not going to change it next year. We're going to still have that additional 8%.
But it may be whittled away significantly depending on what Dominion does. And that's part of the reason why the 3% is all I'm recommending at this point. One is what you guys raised a few years ago for the generation capacity credit. It's the equivalent of that, okay? It was going to the reserve, and I think we all agree after discussing this that this is the right thing to do. You got to return it, right?
And I'm not saying let's not do it. I'm just saying that next year, say if they go up 20%, that we remember that we had 8% left over in the pot.
I think you got to
Might
zero
only grow
base it
12.
at this point.
Correct. That's all I'm asking.
Right, and before I recognize Mr. McCure, I know in years past, we had 1 year, and it proved to be innovative on your part. There was I think we had like a 3% increase, but because you anticipated more increases 2 years out, we went up like 5 or 6% 1 year, or something.
I think we did the full 3%, and that 3% expires.
Right.
Or
Because when
Saturday.
Mr. Keller, Mr. Eden were on the committee, I remember that was not crazy by the time, but I have to admit, Mr. Green made a good, before I recognize Mr. McCure, Mr. Green said we had 300-some thousand in electrical reserves. What do we have right now as we get near June 30th? Roughly, what does the town of Blacksburg have as general fund reserve?
Undesignated.
Undesignated. $1 million general, 337 electric, And I think we're gonna be about 120 in water and sewer, and I think we talked about it this morning in anticipation of that question. You've got about $1.5 million undesignated dollars. Now, in order to do the switchgear project that we need to do, okay, we've got that 337 I anticipate, because Dan's got to do it in a bench period of the year. He can't do it in the coldest part of the year because we may have to run. He can't do it in the hottest part of the year, so he's either got to do it in the
September.
spring or the fall.
Yep.
Fall typically is when we'll do it. I don't think I'll have $285,000 saved up, so we'll dig into that 337 and reimburse it during the course of the year to get us back. That will probably draw it down some, but I anticipate still putting a pretty good chunk, because we're budgeting the depreciation for the electric system fully, based on the auditor's account, that's fully being funded in this budget.
Mr. McCure's been dying to make a point.
Well, there's another way to look at this too. And that is that this is a one-time windfall that we will get from Dominion in the form of a decrease.
No, it's
No.
not that you get it from Dominion, you get it from your consumers.
Now, may I finish? It's a one-time, and this makes it easier for us to play catch-up for all the failed pass-throughs that we've not done over the past 10 years. Now, granted, it would be a continued item, but electric rates are not gonna stay down.
It's an annual thing. It's an annual game we play.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a one-time fine that we've got coming in, that we are able to take advantage of to do air packs, to do other stuff that, has eaten up the money that we did not collect for the past 10 years in pass-through rates.
Correct.
And I don't know, it's not the easiest thing to conceive to see that, but if you look at all the figures, the reason we got in the holes that we were in is because we did not increase our cost to our people, our customers, our however you want to express it, at the same rate that we were increased on the supply side.
Sure. But Mr. McCure, I'll tell you right now, and everything you just said is accurate. But I know this is the 11th budget I presided over, and I would dare say of the previous 10, I will bet you if you look back, you will find rate increases on electrical end, at least 6, probably 7. They may not have been enough, but in a town that's 74% low to moderate income, we've kind of walked that fine line between what our reserves are and what our people.
But the fine line has gotten us, or the fine line had gotten us,
I know.
not is getting. I
Right.
think we're kind of out of that hole.
We made the
now.
turn.
And we've made the turn, and this is a one-time benefit that we're gonna get to help us get to the $3-point-some million reserve that we all agreed that we needed to do financially.
7-0 vote, that's right.
That's right.
It was.
And,
It was a 7-0 vote, which is often harkened back to, which I applaud. But it's sort of like at the Curry record, I say, look, we're going to clean everything tomorrow. We're going to clean it all. When we clean a little bit, we do. It's a pledge. It's a goal.
it's awful easy to fall back.
It is.
Let's
And-
don't
and-
lose sight of something here, Sam. All right, it's time to be fiscally responsible and not grandstand and not try to make things look pretty. The infrastructure of this town was designed around a transfer of $750,000 out of the electric fund into the general fund to pay for the police department, to pay for the fire department, and to pay and not have 56 cents tax rates, to have in the 20s, and not have. So you can kick it around, you can call it profits, you can call it whatever you want to, but the fixed costs of the town are increasing, and it's popular to want to cut rates and do this and do that, but at the end of the day, the bills to be paid. And we pay an auditor $20,000 a year to come in here and tell us that we should have so much in reserve. We talk to sister communities that have their own electric and their own water sewer. We go by state standards, we go by national standards, and we come up with what we all agreed 7-0 was what we need to be doing. This is a once in a generation opportunity for us to progressively move forward to reaching these goals without having to raise taxes. Now,
How long it lasts,
it's
we'll
just,
never know, right?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, this year we faced monumental increases in healthcare. We've got quality employees that we need to tend to in this budget. I'm proud to say we're funding LEOs.
Big step.
Next year, I want to look at, I don't mind telling you, I'd like to look at a package for the police department where we can have a grade or step ranks, where we can keep our valuable, the ones that are of value to us, we can keep them through merit raises and through pay raises according to their performance, not their years on the job. So, yeah,
training, education,
it's
that's
nice.
all.
I'd love to be able to sit up here and be the hero and say, oh, yeah, well, we just don't pay any taxes. But the fact of the matter is, we're a corporate municipality. We've got to be fiscally responsible. And, you know, we didn't have, there was a time that we didn't have the meter deposits, and we were paying bills with meter deposits. And now here we are, we have a once in a generation opportunity to bridge the gap. And I just think we just kick it around and make it sound popular or whatever you want to. But the fact of the matter is, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to be fiscally responsible. It's not always easy to sit in this chair, but you know, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. So
Just know, and I feel like a lot of these comments are directed towards me, but just know next year is not a once in a lifetime deal, because I can tell you, we will have an additional $200,000 per year added to our general revenue, or our electric revenue. So next year, if the rates are raised 9% through Dominion, I'm gonna say we only raised 1% because we have an extra 8%.
So how would you propose to fund the
How are we gonna do it before
gonna
tonight,
do it.
before we found out 11% was gonna be given back to us?
Well, I mean, we fought this fight and fought this battle, and now here we are, we're paying I think the taxpayers would appreciate the fact that we're buying equipment with cash money instead of borrowing. You know, borrowing money today is cheap, but I got news for you. I mean, I stumbled across a car note where I bought my wife a new car when we got married, and I have excellent credit, and it was 9.8%. And today I'm doing car deals at 1.9%. That's not going to last. So for us to sit here and think that money's going to be cheap as it is now forever, we're fooling ourselves.
I want to commend the finance committee, all three of you guys, which we differ from time to time, town manager, the finance director, everyone that pitches in. Because I do remember in August 2009, Ben and I were freshmen, and the council belabored over a $600,000 line of credit. And that was a new concept to me, to pay bills. And I remember Ben and I began to believe there might be trouble in paradise. And we've come along. And then you came to my office one day, August 2011, and told me that we had two choices: to pay vendors or pay employees. I said, well, pay employees first, but how bad is it? So we've come a long way. And it's nice to have be able to have these debates, which is good. And both of y'all are making great points, knowing that what the town manager said, we have $1.5 million banked in reserve. Still far shy what the auditor recommended, but it's $1.5 million we didn't have 6 years
Well,
ago.
not only that, we've got our meter deposits and
Yes.
and all these
Enterprise
other things
funds are segregated.
that are funded, that
Yes.
weren't funded. So
Biggest thing for you guys to think about what we're doing, money wise, and how far we've come. We got $1 million, and that's all good. We fully fund VDOT activities with VDOT money now. That used to be $1 million that went to
Put to pay your check or.
curb and gutters or for salaries or whatever it was. Not one penny of that goes back into the general checking account. Every penny now, for probably a year and a half, goes straight into our VDOT line. So when the pavers come to town, we cut them a check. We don't have to scramble around and ask them to wait 90 days for a check. We got the cash. We don't sign and part of our agenda tonight is South Main Street, which I'm going to recommend that we hold off on again, because I just don't think we have the correct number. So we've been putting every dime from VDOT. It's $1 million plus, and we've taken that out of circulation. That's no longer there as a floater. And I can tell you the first couple of years I was there, that would have.
Grab it.
When,
That's completely out.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, Mr. Hamner.
I think the town is blessed to have this opportunity to get these funds, and everything is going up. We have a great future in the face of Blackstone, right now in 40, and it's going to call for funds. We have these funds that's put aside in the accounts, and I think it would be very foolish not to take full advantage of what's coming our way.
Well said, Mr. Hamler. Well said. We have a
And
motion.
Again, I'm not opposed to it, but I just want us to know that when rate increases are passed through, we quickly pass it on to our consumer. But
When we get a break, we don't, we kind of,
and I do have a question about the East End. When do we plan on starting that project?
East End is not awarded
We have
yet.
a motion on the floor.
we do.
This is a budget question.
Yeah, I want to make
This is a
sure
budget
Mr.
question.
Nash gets answered.
East End project typically will be announced, and we finished the planning grant section, we're in the construction grant application process. I'm probably the one person that's been here for one of these. Usually in July or August, we get notice. If we get notice that we get the housing portion of it, the water is paid for as part of the grant. If you remember, you're only on the hook for the sewer.
Right.
If it doesn't get funded, we still gotta do the water and the sewer. The water lines are bad over there.
Right.
And I will start, if we get turned down, I'll start the design work right away.
That's fine.
We'll have a year or two of the money setting aside, and I can commit to you that 3%, it's going into reserve, it's going into that sewer reserve, not to be paying debt, but to pay the beginning of that project. And I think we're gonna, I don't know if I'll have $1 million by the time it has to happen, but maybe we take a line of credit for a few years on a project specific, but we'll find some creative way that we don't necessarily have to raise any more rates or do anything.
Right. Before I poll council on this historic vote, I saw Tom Taylor briefly had a question.
Okay, you said, million overcharges, whatever price you say. Is that gonna be,
Public hearing.
Yep, Mr. Van Orbeck informed the council at our June 19th meeting that he finally got the number. Usually around early June, but Dominion tells you what they're going to charge us for electricity in the coming year. They're charging us 11% less this coming year for a variety of reasons, but they've reduced their rate. Mr. Van Orbeck did report that their rate had been higher than it had to be.
so will that be passed on to the consumer?
3%, your electrical rate, if this vote goes forward, Mr. Green's motion passes, you will get a 3% reduction in your electrical rate.
When will that take effect? If you,
July 1st,
you told me
which is
this-
this coming Saturday.
This Saturday.
Go into effect, but the bill you'll actually see it on is for the bill that starts July 11th to August 11th.
May I call for the question?
Mr. Hamner has, and I agree, call for the question. We will start with Mr. Tucker. The vote is to approve the budget with the revisions that Mr. Green outlined, and Mr. Nat, who seconded the motion? Mr. McCure seconded the motion. Start with Mr. Tucker.
Nay.
You have to explain to me what the motion was. I wasn't.
And Madam President, you're correct. Mr. Green made a motion to adopt the budget, to keep the sewer rate increase as proposed and advertised, to not do the 2% tax increase, but to also take the 11% rate decrease that we're getting from Dominion. He had allocated different ways of banking that money. 3% is going to go to the consumer in the form of reduced rate starting July 1st.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries 6-1. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Can I,
Very quick. Well, we've had the public hearing, but very briefly, yes.
can you just let him go ahead and just finish what you just saying?
Sure. And then we're going to give it to Mr. Todd Atkinson.
So everybody knows the 1st of July won't actually be, it's the date it goes into effect. It'll go into effect on the reading, the meter reading that takes place in July 11th to September 11th, and the bills will go out on or about the 1st of September. So when those bills come out in September, you'll see a reduction in the cost per kilowatt hour.
Very good.
Fuel adjustment is going up, correct?
It went up in April.
Right.
Okay, so that's
Pass
already
through.
going up.
The fuel adjustment did increase, and that happens in April, and we just passed that through. It did increase substantially, so this will offset some of that.
Very good. Very good. All right. At this time, I want to recognize Todd Atkinson from, I believe, Nottoway Dixie Boys Baseball.
Babe Ruth.
The Babe Ruth. What age is that? 13, 15? Or
13 to 18.
13 to 18, okay.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Reason I'm here tonight, as like I said, president of Nottoway Baseball. We have gotten two teams. One's in the district now, our 13 and 15s, which will start next week. But our 16 and 18s are moving on next Thursday and have to go to Fredericksburg and play in Fredericksburg for the state. What we're here for now, we're trying to do fundraising. I'm not asking Blackstone for money. What we want to do, we want to know if we can come in and do a helmet drive. And we would like to do it Saturday from like 8 in the morning till lunchtime using Church Street and Main Street.
North Main.
North Main, right in front of Whitefront. But I got guys, like I said, this will be my 16 and 18s. There will be no kids younger than that. Plus, we have parents, and myself would be there, coaches also.
Will you be in the middle? You'll be supervised?
They will be supervised under me.
Okay. And this will be at 2 locations. Give me the hours again exactly.
I'm looking between 8 and 12.
8 and 12.
And it's actually a good time for us because you got the 100-mile
I was gonna say the yard sales, the big yard
yard
sales.
sales, and we're going to have people coming in and out. So that would help us a little bit too.
Members of council, what's your pleasure? And y'all are the Finish State champions in one of those age groups, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, my 13 and 15s last year, they went to Tennessee. So we're hoping to
To
return.
approve the request.
Mr. Nash is moving. Ms. Thompson is second. Several seconds. Any further discussion? I would ask that you do make contact with the police chief and his officers.
Yes, I will.
They may have suggestions of what's safer or that sort of thing.
You'll get cones from the town or whatever.
Yes, I mean, I'll set it up like pretty much like the fire department did their boot drive, which is I've been a part of that. So.
Very good. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We adopted the budget. Do we also need a motion to appropriate the budget?
You need a motion to appropriate.
Okay, so
So
Mr. Green,
moved.
Mr. Green has moved to appropriate the budget. Is there a second? Mr. Tucker has seconded that motion. I will go with a roll call vote starting with Mr. Tucker.
Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. Board of Zoning, and thank you very much. And
Right.
another
Thank
one of our
y'all.
fine employees, and thank you for what you do. Hopefully no thunderstorms or something. Board of Zoning Appeals appointment to succeed, this is a nomination actually, to succeed Janet Bennell. Anybody have any great names or anybody you'd like to punish? Any constituents?
I have several, but I don't.
There's Sally back there, that's what she said.
Sally Bill would be a fine,
I know she would.
fine Board of Zoning Appeals
Only
appointment.
meet like once a year, Sally. I mean, it'd be perfect.
You wanna answer now?
If you're willing to give one, we don't want to put you on the spot, but just, we would never want to do that.
Who else is on the committee? On board?
Myra Quick, Michael Bagley, Nathaniel Miller,
Peanut.
it's
Eddie Nash.
Eddie and Eddie.
and you. If you would-
I move to nominate Miss Sally Beal of Lunenburg Avenue.
Mr. Green has moved, and Mr. Nash seconded the nomination. This is what you get for coming to meetings regularly, and being attentive, and all in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and it'd be perfect, because her husband Chuck was on the Nottaway Board of Zoning Appeals for many years, may still be on there.
I have a comment.
All right, Mr. Green has a comment.
Old Chinese proverb, no good deed goes unpunished.
Thank you, Sally. Thanks so much. The Nottaway County letter, which we had by email,
I hate to be running my mouth all night, but I do have a comment about it.
okay?
If everyone have a copy?
Yes.
If you'll look at the last paragraph, the second sentence, it says additionally, I think this needs to be changed to additionally, the council would like to extend the Board of Supervisors our appreciation. I don't think it's fair to stick the mayor in the hot seat for something that we voted 7-0 to do.
Yeah, I would change additionally council, and then when it goes
Council
out
would like to extend,
to the Board of Supervisors, its appreciation.
right. Mhm.
I would sign that wholeheartedly.
I'll move to approve the letter with the amendments that I've spoke of.
Second.
Mr. Nash, a second. Mr. Green's motion. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries 7-0. And now we get to, let's do the fire department command vehicle before we get to South Main.
Okay, I don't know if we have too terribly much to report. Zach Barris is here.
Bieris, Mr. Bieris.
Zach is here to answer questions. We've received some preliminary cost estimates, but Dion wanted me to assure the Finance Committee Chairman who I spoke with about this, that indeed we only have one bid and there are multiples more coming. So we are waiting for those to come. If you'd like to add anything to that, but we don't have a final response to you. One estimate came to us.
I wasn't even gonna come to you with it. I didn't go to the committee with it, in other words.
Wasn't the estimate more as much as we paid for the vehicle or something like that?
3 times more than we pay for the vehicle, so, yes.
Two more quotes within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Once the quotes come in, we'll bring them.
And I don't think Dion likes that press quote either, so.
This seat's hot enough before I was
July
gonna
17th
give
council
that to
meeting?
the council,
July
to the
17th.
committee, so.
July 17th council meeting?
Not trying to hold anything from the council, Mayor, but I wasn't presenting that.
Okay.
No, I think, here's the deal. Remember I asked you to hold off on the nozzles? We have, because of the sale of the vehicles, you can do the nozzles now. if you would like to. And I think Dion agreed to hold off on that until we had some cost estimates. And I think cost estimates are going to
I thought
still be way low.
we approved it, we approved the hose and the nozzles.
No, he stopped the motion.
I asked you to hold off
But
until
we had a quote on that, and I thought it was reasonable.
$4,600. And I'd asked you guys to hold off until Dion had given me a cost estimate.
Okay,
And that cost them really high. Now, if you still need to do the nozzles, we have a fixed amount of money.
okay.
We've got a,
Not easily done, but I'm
Fixed
confused.
amount
So, what are you saying here?
I'm recommending to allow the fire
I mean,
department
not hard to do, not hard to
$4,600
configure.
for the
Okay.
hose
For the
project.
hoses,
For the hoses.
hoses and the nozzles.
You wanna do that tonight?
Tonight.
I'd entertain a motion by
The
council.
nose and the hosel, both.
As far as I know, yes, sir. We've had to take some nozzles off of our older trucks and put into our newer trucks to go through. So a lot of them have failed.
That door over there.
But we still have a finite amount of money
Right.
for capital projects. You have county's contribution, you have the sale of the truck, you have the sale of the Suburban, you have the sale of the skid unit, so there's still a relatively finite amount of money. And they would like to proceed on with the $4,600. It may reduce, but remember, tonight, you approved $34,000 going into fire apparatus as part of a payment in lieu of tax from your 11% increase. 1% of that's going back into your trucks and things. So now that we've got that done, I think I'm comfortable to move forward.
So moved.
Madam President, motion by Ms. Thompson, second by Mr. Scott. $4,600 roughly?
I believe it's 46.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and that leaves our last issue on the agenda is the South Main Street Revenue Share Project, which you want us to hold off on.
The bids are significantly over.
200,000 over.
At least, yeah. And so I'm asking the council allow me to hold off. The bids are good for 60 days. It really is a project that I would like to do. If you didn't notice, the pavement's in bad shape over there, and drainage is a problem, and floods and all those things that we don't like. But I don't have $200,000 to commit right at this very time. If I could tell you that I have that in the VDOT line, I would say we can go, but I don't have it because we have paving and surface treatment still to go this summer. And finishing up Nottoway Avenue, we want to make sure all those things get done. The bids are good for 60 days. We received them June 15th, so we've got till August 15th, so probably at the July meeting. But in the interim, I would like a street committee meeting to sit down and go over it with the engineer because there are some reductions. We've come up with about $85,000 in cost savings. We got to do some flagging. We've got to do some barrel moving and cone moving and traffic control that's going to save us a significant amount of money. So if the street committee could, before you leave tonight, come up with a date that works, and maybe we can sit down with the engineer and sit down with the contractor and see if we can find a creative way to get this done. It is a project that I think we need to work on. Okay?
All right, very good.
Last item.
Yes.
If we can, and I wish Todd was still here, we have a nice baseball facility. And our policy that I wrote, sadly, really precludes people from using it. We wanted to make sure that Blackstone folks were able to use it, but things like Babe Ruth aren't able to use it because they can't spend that amount of money. I'd like to look at finding ways that instead of we charge deposits. Deposits, returnable deposits. If the facility is returned to us, clean, the bathrooms aren't torn all to pieces, all those kinds of things. And instead of the money not being reimbursable, then maybe we can consider a reimbursable minus a charge, a reasonable charge for using the lights and.
Yeah, a travel ball team. I figured that team would be local.
It is local.
Yeah,
The
so
policy was generated because of travel.
you don't want the travel fanatics out there with their 2 or 3 kids with the lights on until 10 o'clock at night.
Well, what's going on is, and what we've been telling folks is, other than the rec association, everybody pays.
Okay.
And I think-
Aren't they rec association?
They're separate. They're independent.
Okay.
So they're asking to use it, and we're saying, $300 for the weekend. Well, I don't want to do that. So I think more deposit that you can get back minus a reasonable fee for using the lights and that sort of thing. I'd like to bring that back to you at the rec committee and see if we can come up with a plan.
If they're not using lights, we want the kids to use it.
Yeah.
There was a man that stopped me this morning and said he had talked to you, and he wants to have the men's softball league over there. But they probably don't want to pay this fee to use the field, so.
I explained to him that lights obviously would incur a charge, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we
work on like a
could
deposit
work up
or
something else.
Then I'll read to you what the charges are now for a men's baseball or softball league.
Yeah, what would that be?
So you know. Games or tournaments, there will be a $100 fee for the use of the facility per night, 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. $150 for 2 days, and $300 for the weekend. The field will be available as is, and fields will not be dragged or marked by the town. So it's $300 for a weekend. Now,
150 deposit, something like that, 200 deposit?
well, yeah, say $200 for a deposit, or even the $300 deposit, but it's reimbursable if you turn the lights off at 10 o'clock. And we've had an occasion not terribly long ago where the lights were left on all night. Things like that we say electric usage is $25 a night or something like that. Whatever the fare, have Dan come up with a calculation that's appropriate, and then reduce that off the deposit, but they get the difference as long as the bathrooms aren't destroyed and the fields aren't torn on pieces.
Make I don't even know if it needs to go committee. If you feel comfortable with a figure of 150 on.
No, I would say leave the 300, but it's
Reimbursable.
it's a deposit,
Yeah.
and you get your money
I
back.
guess
However,
Chairman Nash is trying to convey to you
Yeah,
that,
just do it
there's
now.
no need to get the committee together. Get with Dan and present us with the figures, and the next time we meet. And it looks agreeable to us.
Yeah, I'd say just.
Fair enough. We'll come back to you.
Getting the committee together.
I do like it. You come back to the council though, so council can own it. I do think.
kids in the field, not
Correct.
Absolutely.
And just so it's clear, it's not just the rec using it. The Gators have been using it for free of charge, correct?
I was just gonna say,
Okay,
when
I
that
don't want
changed,
everybody thinking it's just the rec.
right. But, yeah. I mean, that Nottaway baseball is basically
It's the
one
same
step up
kids.
in the rec. I mean,
Correct.
it's organized, supervised sports,
Yeah, same.
just like the Gators and everything else. That's good. Anything else? We don't need to do closed session. I thought maybe we might have a.
I don't have
Okay,
anything in writing.
well, that's fine. Anyone else have anything for the good of the cause as we begin to start a new fiscal year come Saturday? Thank y'all for everything you do. It's been a good year. I look forward to an even better year this coming year. And with that, this continued meeting's adjourned at 5:32. 6:32. Hey, Blackstone, thanks for watching.
But I think the council